We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you. Well, hey out there, all you cats and kittens. Welcome to another issue of the Plotaholics Live. I am one of your hosts, Shane Wilson, and I'm joined as always by Brian, the Tiger King Tan.
Oh God, they're so horrible. They're so horrible.
Let's see. I feel like, I thought I was gonna try to hold on to our branding, but I think maybe we need to update things a little bit. So
Okay.
Give me just a second to see if I don't have something in the bank here for
Hey-o, everyone. I'm Brian. I'm dying of laughter. If the corona doesn't get me, the laughter will.
Indeed.
Because I can't breathe.
And let's see.
I can't breathe.
I've got one more.
Hey-o to Anita. Oh God.
Well, Brian, welcome to a very special episode of the Plotaholics Live.
Well, y'all, welcome now to the Plotaholics Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Exotic.
Oh, that's too good.
Oh God. Yeah, so as you all can tell, we have watched Tiger King on Netflix.
Indeed.
And yeah.
And I'm just like updating our branding just a bit here. I thought I was just going to hang with what we typically run with, but I think that this is more appropriate for today.
Oh, absolutely.
So Anita is in the house. Hi, Anita. Welcome. Brian, the internet was just a buzz this weekend.
Oh, yeah. The internet's been going crazy.
We've all been forced inside for now. I think most of us have been in now for 2 weeks. This is our third one now.
Yeah, I think this is my third week.
Things are a little crazy. And anytime you go online for the last 2 weeks, all you've seen is coronavirus, COVID-19, blah, 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 blah. But
Rudy Gobert coughing on things, and now he's got it and can't smell. Thanks, yeah. Rudy.
But all of a sudden, last week, out of the darkness, an unlikely savior appeared. And that savior, Brian, came in the form of Netflix's original docuseries, Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. It was incredibly surprising.
And then some.
It blew up unlike anything that I have seen in a very long time. I mean, I'm trying to remember the last time there was this cultural moment where everybody kind of got on board with something like this.
It's been a long
this quickly.
Yeah, because I mean, Stranger Things took a while to get took a little bit longer to get a
Yeah,
following.
now there's been cultural moments that sort of took over social media, like, you had the what was even happening in this country 2 months ago? Do you even remember January?
There was a January?
Honestly,
I think the XFL
Super Bowl was like 7 weeks ago, and it feels like we haven't had a Super Bowl in 5 years.
Yeah, this March has been a long year, man.
It really has been, and we're finally. I am going to go back to our other branding here.
Okay, Shane's had enough.
No, just because the images are all in the old style. So we're gonna.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, and
it did channel all the incentive. Like, that show was like the breath of fresh air. That was neat. It was the breath of non-COVID-19 filled air.
Yeah, and so we thought we would just kind of take a romp through this new mythology, this new American mythology.
The insanity of this show has spread almost as fast as the COVID-19.
It's true, yeah. So as
Because I wasn't even gonna watch this.
no, I wasn't either.
And like I kept seeing everyone talk about it. And I was like, I'm not getting sucked into this. It's not happening. No. I still haven't even watched The People versus OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I lived it. I was already alive during that.
Well, we definitely didn't live this. Even though one of the zoos, quote unquote, that is covered here, that's Doc Antle's zoo, is not very far from where I live down in Myrtle Beach.
Well, you better keep Michelle under wraps, man. He might try to get her as his next girlfriend, working with his tigers and shit.
Yeah, so let's run through the cast of players real quick. The lead, I guess, protagonist question mark is Joe Exotic, who runs is it called GW Zoo out in Oklahoma, or what was GW Zoo?
Yeah. Joe is a very he is a larger than life personality. You know, he kind of reminds me of a combination, and I'm going to go old school World Wrestling Federation on you. He reminds me of a combination of Jesse the Body Ventura and adorable Adrian Adonis. Like he really does, like with a little bit of Don the Rock Morocco thrown in. This guy,
and maybe just a hair of Alan Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely. He is definitely. I mean, look at the boots, man.
Those boots were made for waiting. That's for sure.
Oh, they truly were. I mean, oh my God. Joe Exotic, what? This guy's like a renaissance man of white trash.
He really is. And this docuseries really asks us to view Joe in an interesting sort of way, I think, because he is by all metrics a terrible person.
He is a horrible human being. I mean,
but the docuseries frames him as the protagonist of the show.
And in some ways, they even frame him as the victim.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I mean, this guy, you know what? Joe Exotic to me is kind of like as much of sort of an antagonistic personality as Howard Stern was in the early 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about the cult of personality, right? And
some.
He's an over the top, just bonkers crazy guy, but there is a charisma to that crazy. Like you can't ignore that. I mean, all of these people in this docuseries have the ability to gather followers, right?
They really do. I mean, so he's kind of like Lou Dorchin from Hot Tub Time Machine. He's a major asshole, but once you gravitate to him, he's your asshole.
Yeah, well, there's a lot there that feels reminiscent of a Kanye West type or of a Donald Trump, or like there's a lot of that sort of what is it?
He's a cult leader.
He's a cult leader, but also like there's that narcissism that makes him think that
he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to stay in his lane because, as we saw, as long as he was doing what he was doing, he was successful.
Absolutely. I mean, you even look at, and I'm not going to start, I'm not going to run. I'm actually going to try to stay on our rails instead of hopscotching. But every single thing you would see he would do, I mean, he was gold. He was controversial gold. Controversy sells. And Joe Exotic is just like the next guy in line to prove that. Like I said, I use Howard Stern as an example, in the late 80s into the 90s, controversy sold with him. And then in the late 90s into the 2000s, it was South Park, and then Family Guy. And then, as it just goes on and on and on, now we have Joe Exotic. He's our
always just an over the top sort of thing, really ends up working for some people. Now, in this docuseries, Joe is pitted up against his arch nemesis. And this is, I think, really what undoes Joe in so many ways, right? Is that he gets tunnel vision when it comes to Carol Baskins.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It's like hippie Vader. She's like the hippie Sith Lord. She really is. because she scares me more than anyone in this show. She's scared, like she terrifies me.
She's pretty calculating. But also the documentary does paint her with a particular brush.
Yes, it does.
There was an article published on Slate this past weekend that put me onto another article published in 2019 in New York Magazine. It's this article here. And this article takes the different approach. In this article, Joe is the antagonist and Carol is the protagonist. And so it really is an interesting sort of exercise in spin and perspective.
Yeah, because I think in just to piggy off what you just said, everyone is the hero of their own story.
Yeah.
And the villain of your story, you may be the villain of their story, because in Carol's mind and in the minds of her followers, I guess, and her little cult of personality, Joe is evil as hell. But on Joe's side of things, and even on Doc Ansel's side of things, Carol is a monster.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the end of the day, they're all terrible people.
Yeah, none of them are really great at all.
They really are not, because here's the thing, which gets me, is that Carol's making Joe out to be this horrible human being. And I mean, watching this objectively, her animals don't look that happy. I mean, none of Joe's lines were in that small of a space.
So this is an interesting image, because Joe uses this image in the documentary to make her look bad. But what is happening behind her is that line is just in a feeding place. Like, he's attached to a much larger cage.
Yeah, he is. But Joe's animals could still be free to move around when they ate and drank. Where with Carol's, they have like the little small feeding area. And you saw the one that he showed where if the animal wanted to get something to drink, they had to stick their head into a cage.
Yeah. Now, the biggest difference between what Carol does, at least now, and what Joe
she's in business.
Is, there's that. Yeah. Is that she has stopped breeding the cats. And she offers them a place to go die, essentially.
That she says that she does. She says that she's not doing the breeding anymore.
Well, she doesn't have young cats there.
Right. Okay. And you know what? I guess that might be better, but, you know, still at the same token.
The issue is that she's still using those cats for
her own purposes,
for making money.
Profit.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say it's a non-profit place, but I mean, that place don't run itself. It needs money. Well, and she doesn't pay her people.
Yeah, and she's making bank off of those people. Also, the thing about Carol that makes her easy to be the villain is that she's obviously incredibly greedy.
She truly is. And the story of what happened to her husband, what was homeboy's name? Her husband. Not Mitch McConnell looking dude.
Right.
Other dude. Yeah, Mitch McConnell's still alive. Well, both of them. His doppelganger and her hubby. Joe, what's his name? No, his name wasn't Joe, was it? No, or was it Dawn?
I think it's Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah, Dawn, who's a what's it? And I'm sure that's on his birth certificate. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that it wasn't just coming, a lot of this stuff wasn't just coming from Joe's perspective or Don Ansel's perspective. Don Lewis, yeah. But I mean, they even had Don Lewis's ex-wife and daughters on there as well.
They were terrified.
Oh, they were. I mean, you could actually see as they were talking about Carol, they were on eggshells. And when Carol talks, there's just something in her eyes, like very frighteningly calculating. Like whenever she would talk about stuff, and you would see like that. Oh my God.
Okay, so like there's the third episode where they talk about her missing husband, right? And then near the end, they talk about what it would take to, you know, have some like bait a tiger into eating someone. Whenever the tigers go after Joe's shoes, and she's like, you would have to put them in sardine oil. There's something that they would want to eat, and I'm like, bro, like that's pretty specific.
That is extremely specific. Like, is that? Tell us more.
Yeah.
Now she's gonna have a book that called. I'm not saying I killed Dawn, but if I had.
Exactly.
Because I mean, she is like her, and then her current husband he is just Howard Baskin. He is just like when he talks, he sounds like the chief, like crony of the bully, though. You know what I mean? Like he's like there's just something about him. Does he look like he almost looks like he's afraid, but he's so confident that he's like, well, she's not going to hurt me, but I'm afraid of if I make her mad.
The Mitch McConnell guy?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell, dude. I swear, you cannot.
For the most part, it seems like as long as they stick around, she's okay. It's that they don't want her she doesn't want them taking their money away. Right. That's what it feels like.
Well, see, what's crazy to me is that her and Mitch McConnell, dude, they are just like they're this whole documentary, like everyone seems to get their own bit of a place in the sun, but this is all about the rise and the fall of Joe Exotic in so many ways. Because I mean, we followed so much of Joe and where he was and what he was doing and what he was up to, that it just like at the end, it's like, huh, well, where do we go from here?
You know? There's a guy on the tweet machine.
Tweeting the Twitter. Love it.
Robert Moore. You can find him at Robert Moore _, who's done a fair bit of, he's a journalist, but he's also done a fair bit of tweeting since this has come up. And part of that is that he's been tweeting some of the primary documents from these cases.
Yeah.
Including a restraining order filed by the boyfriend that Carol dated right after Don went missing. So the guy between Don and Mitch McConnell.
Okay.
And I'm trying to find the exact tweet here.
Well, I'm up here I'm tweeting on his Twitter now. Let me see.
Yeah, so I got you. Let's see if I can share a screen, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do. Oh, look at this. How official are we?
Oh, yeah. I love it. We are a big deal.
We are, yeah. Let's see. So this is from Jay Bakel. That Jay was Carol's lover after Don.
Okay.
And so let's see. Where's the part where he talks about? Yeah. So at the very bottom down here in section 4, he says, on the phone and at home, told me she will kick my ass out of there, whatever it takes. I honestly fear I am in danger of death or serious bodily injury because her prior husband is missing and presumed dead. One day she said to me when I asked her what happens if your husband shows up now, her response was, dead body cannot talk. Her former husband's daughter told me she could be dangerous and watch my back. Respondent carries 2 guns loaded, always one in her truck, one in her residence. She said she was a suspect in her husband's disappearance. Recently, 3 to 4 days ago, she told me human bones were found near Lazy Days RV Center. She said she hopes it's not on her property or she will be in deep shit.
Ooh.
That is, that's some pretty heavy stuff there. From
Carol Baskin Robbins is just she's
that again is from Carol's the boyfriend that she dated between
Joe and Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, between Joe.
I mean, yeah. All I know is this, man. Homeboy better be careful saying stuff like that because she got the money. Homeboy could have an accident and fall in some sardine oil and
yeah.
Well, because they're never going to find Dawn.
Brian, I'm a little worried that I just read that on the Plotaholics.
Yeah, no, we could both be in danger. Thanks, Shane. And I'll tell you something right now. If she did feed her, come on, man, I'm going to have nightmares. Now, that means if she did feed her husband to a tiger, they ain't never going to find him because shit decomposes.
Yeah. So now, what about this deep cut? And I don't have an image of it, but the fact that that Doc Antle provided Britney Spears with the tigers for one of her VMA performances.
Oh my God.
And was actually there with her, like sitting with her.
Doc Antle is like, You want to talk about another dude that's like a terrible person, man. That one woman that had been one of his wives, I'm like starting to think of them as like three brides of Dracula. It's like she even seemed like freaked out. I mean, come on, man. That dude is just there's something about him that makes me feel nervous as well. It's almost like in the creep factor, Joe Exotic is probably among the least creepy of our main characters in this whole thing.
Yes, I could agree with that.
Oh, Anita's on point. Sounds like the next show Carol's going to be on is Forensic Files.
I have this, and this is probably non-confirmed, but it is interesting enough. And that is, let's see, this comes again from the tweet machine. So this is from Ben Friend at Fake Best Friend. Can we talk about how Carol Baskin was sitting next to Britney Spears at the 2001 VMAs, and the tiger used in the Slave for You performance was Doc Antle's? So I want the Tiger King sequel to be about Britney Spears, honestly.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Britney Spears was like in the tiger enclosure, like doing some sexy gyrate dancing? I would actually watch that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I did watch that.
Yeah, but I'll watch it again. I don't care.
You're right.
I'm okay with that. Hey, sometimes repeats are good for you. You got to keep the product fresh.
That's right.
But no, I seriously, because like for me, as far as creep factor, well, what is your creep factor of the characters that we met in Tiger King? Who is the top of your creep factory?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you that I think that as creepy as Carol can be, I'm actually not convinced that she's evil.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that doesn't look great. She might have killed her husband, but we don't know that. You know what I mean? I think the person that is without doubt, and again, in this country, right?
Innocent
until proven guilty. I think the person in this documentary that is beyond a shadow of a doubt, the worst person in Westeros, I go Jeff Lowe.
Yeah, he is. He's another disgusting person. And I mean, did you happen to see they've hired their new nanny, and his new nanny is like this like smoking hot Hispanic girl. So now he's going to be trying to nail her and his wife.
Well, they're polyamorous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess. Well, I'm not going to call that. I mean, you know what? I mean, honestly, polygamy isn't something that I'm into because I'm kind of selfish in that regard.
Right.
I don't like sharing, but I do know individuals that are, polyamorous. And I mean, hey,
yeah,
if you're down with, cool.
Yeah, and his wife or whoever this woman is, is clearly fine with it because she talks about it with him. Now, this dude is a misogynist from way back. He is real quick to drop just really incendiary remarks about women.
He's not a cool person.
He treats women as commodities just like he does his cats. So
just like Doc Ansel.
And he's the guy that sets up Joe. He takes the zoo from Joe. He sets Joe up. This is the worst person in Westeros for sure.
He is about terrible as all hell because he took the part. Well, to be fair though, Joe, you could tell Joe was scared as hell of him.
That was what was actually really interesting is that as charismatic and as cult leadery as Joe is, like Jeff was a bigger personality in some way. Like it was, I don't know what it was, big dick energy, whatever it was. He came in and took it from Joe.
He did. Well, I think what it was is that where Joe is so, what's the word I'm looking for? He's so over the top. He's almost cartoonish, but with Darth Ducius or because Jeff Lowe kind of seems like a mobster, seems like a mafioso. Like he's quiet.
Yeah,
he's not a loud individual, and that's I think what kind of makes him like, and that's what creeps me out about Carol is that Carol is very, very quiet, but you can tell there's something in her eyes. With this Jeff guy, he sort of has that same thing, where you got this ultra flamboyant Joe that he's the typical all talk. Like if someone came at him to kick his ass, he would reach for his gun, fumble it, and then get the crap beat out of him for trying to pull a gun.
Yeah.
But with this Jeff Lowe just seems scary. And I think that mystique of Vegas makes him even more sort of scary because
Right.
with the Vegas underworld, you know what I mean? That's kind of what does it.
Yeah, I don't really know who the worst is. None of them are great. But I also feel like the documentarian who I don't have an image of, but who pops his head in every now and then into the series. I feel like he's done a pretty good job of making all of them look a little worse than they are, probably.
Yeah, I believe that's Eric Good, I think. You know what? You know who I felt kind of bad for though is Rick Kirkham, who was the producer of Joe Exotic TV, because he he really tried hard to like live it and be, you know what I mean, and be about Joe and try to protect Joe from himself. I think he's probably among the more likable people.
He is, and I do think, and I was going to ask you about the scandal of the burnt down production studio.
Oh, I feel terrible for him because he even said that was my retirement.
Yeah. He was a suspect in that.
Yes, he was.
And when he left and went back to Dallas, his own house also burned down.
Yeah. And honestly, maybe it's just me because I've never owned a house before.
Yeah.
But I would never want to burn down my house. That's my home. A home is an investment.
That's fair.
It's the biggest investment you have besides the car.
He did say in the docuseries that he had a mental breakdown, like when he went back home.
And that could have been it. Well, you figure this guy had his the last seasons of his life in that building of Joe's that burned down. And then Joe essentially ostracized him. And, even if someone drives you nuts and you're annoyed, but if you dedicate that much time and energy to another human being, to have them just ostracize you like that, that's got to be very, very difficult. Because you notice all of these people, whether it's the people that work for Carol, the people that work for Doc, or the people that work for Jeff, or the people that work, for Joe, they are all extremely dedicated to.
They're just glazed over. One of the more compelling interviews in the series was with the girl who worked for Doc but who left.
Yeah, I was kind of talking about her a little bit. She seems so like almost scared, almost like she you know what? I strike that. Homeboy is the second most likable. Rick Kirkham is the second most likable. First likable is definitely that young lady. I'm missing her name right now.
Well, she's not a major player, so I can still give you Rick.
Of the major players, he's the most likable. Of the secondaries, it's that young lady with a tie with Don's family. And even like Joe's mom, I feel kind of bad for Joe's parents too.
Oh God, yeah, they really got hosed for sure.
And then some. But
then that's that tunnel vision that I was talking about. He was so fixated on Carol that he was willing to just break the bank and his parents' bank to go get her.
And then Carol kept going after them so hard. Like she was finally so tunnel vision on Joe, she didn't care who she hurt.
Well, and the problem is that she had the money to do that, and he did not.
Right. But it's like let's just say Plotaholics explodes, right? And let's say in the next 5 years, in 2025, Plotaholics is a huge branding. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say 2027, you and I have a falling out and we're just after each other. I would never go after your parents.
Right.
Ever. Because if we were really going at each other, my focus would be on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you don't go after someone's family, especially if their family is old. You don't.
Yeah. I think she was just over it and just wanted him.
She wanted him to suffer.
She wanted to put him down.
Right. And she didn't care who she had to hurt to do it. And that's saying something. Now, if Joe's mother would have included herself in the attack on Carol, like if she was a regular, no, we don't know that. I'm not going to go through the whole archive of Joe Exotic online.
Although I kind of want to.
I do, but I don't. But if his mother was involved and was attacking her as well, then that's different.
Yeah, the only thing in the docuseries that resembles that is the GoFundMe page where he props his parents up like props, basically.
Yeah.
And they're crying and clearly like reading from a script, you know?
Yeah. We are
that Carol
more vapor rub.
I want to talk about one other thing before we pivot, and that is the failed gubernatorial run.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if he would have won? We would have had Donald Trump, like redneck Donald Trump.
I pulled the numbers for that campaign.
Okay.
So here's what happened in the Libertarian primary in 2018 in Oklahoma. Joe Exotic got 664 votes, but he did win 2 counties.
How small are those counties?
One of those counties has to be where he's from.
Has to be.
And then I'm not sure the other one, but it had to be just like a prairie dog or something.
I'm serious. Like, I mean, well, I want to know this. Are these the only 3? Like, there wasn't a 4th dude, because how do you lose to Joe Exotic?
Yeah, so this was just the Libertarian primary. So this was to decide who would run against the Republicans and the Democrats in the state election.
Okay.
And so what happened here is that Joe basically forced a runoff between the other 2 guys because he kept one of them from getting to 50%.
Right. He did about, because honestly, if Rex L. Lawhorn gets those 18%, he wins.
Yeah. Or if Chris Powell gets 2 other %.
Right.
From somewhere, from anywhere.
Right. And I mean, it's just like those had to have been people that have gone to his park and like, you know,
or protest votes, you know.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Like, I can't believe that the Tiger guy's running. I wonder sometimes how we got where we are today. And it's probably something, I can't believe the Apprentice guy's running. I'll vote for him.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna vote for him just to see what happens.
Now, I would have loved to have seen Oklahoma coronavirus press briefings because I imagine that they would look like this under Joe Exotic. Oh, what could have been. And Joe would have played guitar at his own inauguration.
Oh, he'd have just been like, he'd have been walking up.
When Travis shot himself at the
man.
Funeral, when he started talking about Travis's balls, I was like, what is happening?
What's happening right now? And why are you wearing a priest collar?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
We would also be remiss if we didn't mention the music video that he made for Here Kitty Kitty, where he got someone that looks exactly like
Carol.
Exactly
yes.
like Carol.
His music career is just,
it's amazing. I'm working on some covers right now. Actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're gonna start covering some Joe Exotic.
Yeah,
maybe put some money on his commentary.
Tiger Saw Man.
Tiger Saw Man. You know what? But you want to know who is among the most evil and slimy of them all? Kyle Gass on the dark side of the force, man. Yeah, homeboy. That I said it. I've said it to a couple of people today. I said it to you off air. How the hell are you gonna have a double D chin with straightened hair? Like, why do you think when you see yourself in the morning before you go outside? Find something else to put on.
I've just never seen a guy that looks more like, oh, of course he owns a strip club, right? Like,
oh my God. Like he looks like he owns like the discount bin version of the Bunny Ranch. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is the guy you meet this guy and you're like, wow, how does that guy have money? And he's like, oh, well, I own 3 of the town's 7 strip clubs. And you're like, oh, right. Of course you do.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
That guy doesn't have a franchise to IHOP. That's for damn sure.
The only way this guy was eating at an IHOP, he got a ton of free refills on that coffee.
He really did. Oh my goodness. You know what? I feel bad for his throat and his lungs because you know that is like his 8th pack of cigarettes in that interview.
Yeah, he was straight drinking coffee for 5.5 hours.
Yeah, well, Joe, man. He sounds like he's one cigarette away from those freaking voice boxes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that one time with Joe.
Tiger King, Brian, on Netflix now. I give it like a 1-shot rating.
I give it a 0-shot rating for entertainment factor. 5-shot rating if you're looking for a genuinely good person, because they're hard to come by.
Yeah, I don't give it a perfect rating. It is incredibly entertaining, but I don't give it a perfect rating because I think I don't think you can consider it a docuseries, because I don't think that the documentarian is 100% honest with his intentions.
I think you're right. And also, this is supposed to be about Tiger King, and it's supposed to be as far as, like, what good has come to these wild animals? Like, we're sitting here and we're talking about these evil people, these terrible people. What about the tigers? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, and this is my personal opinion, I'm going to jump on the soapbox for a nanosecond. I don't think that we should have any of the zoos like this. What we should have is these tigers should be shipped to Africa on those, those game preserves. You know what I mean? Like, where they're just huge.
They can't survive in the wild.
Right. So they should be in those huge, wide open spaces that are designed for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in these cages, not with these rednecks sitting here. I'm going to pet me a tiger and I'm going to use them to have me a threesome. No, that is not what they're for. I just think, honestly, I think all these sideshow tiger zoos and blah, blah, blah should be shut down. If you're going to have a zoo, it needs to be a reputable zoo, or just have them in the game preserves in their natural habitats.
Excellent soapbox, Brian. And now it's time for Plotaholics Live as usual. Brian, some news stories this week.
Because we spent so much time on like Redneck Kitty Cat Hour.
Redneck Kitty Cat Hour is over, and we got some more bad COVID-19 related news in that Sony has essentially postponed their entire summer 2020 slate until 2021. And you were pretty upset about this.
I am upset, man. I wanted Ghostbusters now. I want it now. I want Paul Rudd and Wolfgang
and Stranger Things Kid.
I want Paul Rudd and Stranger Things Kid, and I want them now with the proton packs and the ghosts and who you're gonna call and the hey it hurts me. Morbius, I could care less about.
You are gonna have to wait until 2021. I think they're slating it for May 2021.
Damn it, that's even longer away.
Well, it wasn't going to originally come out until May this year, right?
Either May or June.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. So I've been waiting since 1989 for a Ghostbusters 3. I guess I can wait a little bit longer.
Just a little longer.
Yeah.
Well, something you will not have to wait for, though, is that ESPN has moved up The Last Dance. That is the 10-part Michael Jordan docuseries. Yes. And it is ESPN does such a good job with their documentaries.
They really do.
And I can only imagine that this one's going to be excellent. So it was originally going to air in June, and they have moved it up now to April. So
that's awesome. And I don't really take time to watch network TV. The only thing I watch on network TV is Supernatural came on last night and I missed it. I was getting ready to say the only thing I watch on network TV is Supernatural. And it's like, damn it, I missed it. Good thing I can stream it. Yeah. But I watch Supernatural, and I don't even watch Blue Bloods like on network TV. I stream it after it's aired. So I definitely will be looking out for this because I was a huge Michael Jordan fan as a kid. I'm still a Michael Jordan fan. I love Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a hero of mine. I was most disappointed that I wasn't going to be over 6 feet tall because I wanted to be like Michael Jordan as a kid.
That my favorite thing about this image is that when you first look at it, it looks like he's sitting in like by some columns, but it's just doors.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to mention the crying Jordan meme.
I feel like they probably have to. It's 10 episodes long. I think one whole episode has to be about crying Jordan.
Crying Jordan is the greatest meme. It really is.
It's a good one.
I love the fact though at Kobe Bryant's funeral service, and he said, "Damn it, I'm gonna see more of these crying Jordan memes now because
yeah, that was a good moment. Yeah, so that should be good, and ESPN always does a good job with the sports documentaries. So looking.
Well, they got to do something. Center, in fact, they can't do Sports Center no more.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they can't do really anything.
No, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna basically do like what's crazy is that here in Pittsburgh, our sports talk radio station, they had a couple of moments where they were playing old Pirate games from like the World Series years.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you can only do that, but so much. Like, are you really going to play us some games from like the 1996 Pirates when they lost like 100 games? I don't freaking think so.
Right.
And, so, I mean, granted, ESPN could probably show a lot of games, rebroadcast some games and stuff. What I wouldn't mind if they did was, you probably won't remember this because you're probably too young or you probably weren't really into it as much as I was. They used to show these old black and white home run derby TV shows, and it was from black and white. So you would have like guys like Hank Aaron versus Harmon Killebrew.
Oh, that's cool.
Like they would go head to head, and it would be home run derby, but it wouldn't be 10 pitch home run derby. They would have 9 innings, 3 outs, and if you didn't hit a home run, it was an out.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I
that sounds
really
good. They should do like Wild World of Sports, and
yes. I loved Wild World in sports.
And they should just do sports bloopers 24/7.
I love sports bloopers. I remember I had like 5 or 6 VHS tapes as a kid, and they were sports bloopers. And I loved baseball bloopers. Supernatural wasn't on yesterday. Thanks, Anita. Appreciate it. So I guess they've taken another break so they can finish up all of April and like into mid-May of the episode. So this is probably like their last little mini break. Thanks, Anita. Appreciate the update. Anita's awesome.
Absolutely. So another piece of news, Brian. Today was release day for Star Wars Episode 9, the J.J. Abrams chicken shit cut. And there it is right there. There's the cover of the J.J. Abrams chicken shit cut.
You want to bring it up in full so everyone can see it? This is the 4K version. Now I got to move it back. And see, I'm afraid to watch this now because Shane Wilson has made me hate this movie. Shane Wilson, seriously, like, you guys don't know, and I'm kind of afraid to say this. I've actually changed the locks on my doors and reinforced them with carbonite. Shane Wilson came to my house like the day before we did our Plotaholics podcast of Rise of Skywalker, and he just punched me in the face repeatedly. And then he hit me in the stomach and told me that if I didn't like renounce Rise of Skywalker, that he was going to probably pour Drano down my pants. Well, so of course I had to hate the movie now.
I mean, listen, if that makes you feel better, that you don't have to blame, your fanboy JJ Chicken Shit Abrams on this colossal failure of cinematic proportions.
I really wish that Rian Johnson would have had the keys to the kingdom for this.
Yeah, I do too.
Because
honestly, just make one set of keys and give it to one person.
Yes, absolutely. The only reason why having another director worked in the original trilogy was because Homeboy was picked specifically by Lucas.
Yeah,
and Lucas was still directly involved.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, there was still an architect.
Right. And this, it was just like, all right, do it.
Yeah. So I'm
gonna watch this. I'm gonna watch this again tonight.
I'm gonna watch it again sometime as well. So
I'm gonna see how I feel with it. But
I've seen it now twice.
I've only seen it once still. I was gonna go see it again, and when I went to go to see it, I just kept hearing me and Shane talk about the movie. It's like, I can't spend money on this again.
I saw it. I went with my parents, I think maybe a day or two after me and you talked about it.
Okay.
And I had more fun, but it was still shitty. It was still just as shitty.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have the same gripes. I've just gotta find a way to enjoy it. So
yeah,
so here we are.
It's a Star Wars movie, and it's still fun.
It's a Star Wars movie, so it's a part of my life, and it
just feels like shitty, like, fan fiction more than anything else there,
Well, one of the biggest mistakes Disney made was making the EU non-canon. Yeah. I think the EU stories would have made an amazing
I agree completely.
Series. Especially like the Yuzon Vong War would have been so amazing to see on screen.
Yeah.
And we could have seen, and I would have liked to have seen Adam Driver as Jason Solo. Well, essentially he was.
Yeah.
But as Jason Solo, and watch him rise as Jason Solo, hero Jedi, to become
It was
Camus.
like Disney bought it and they were like, well, we don't feel like doing the homework, so that stuff doesn't matter.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. I mean, thankfully now we have Jon Favreau. And Favreau we trust.
Yeah, he's doing the homework. So
we'll see what happens. But it's out today. Pick it up on it's been available on video on demand for the last 2 weeks now. Yeah. So if you don't want to brave, Walmart or Target, order from Amazon, pick it up. If you get the 4K version, you're going to get the Blu-ray, the 4K, and the digital copy. So, and just one thing that I will say about video on demand, just remember, when you make a purchase on these video on demand, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Vudu, whether it's Movies Everywhere, it is an extended rental. If any of these businesses ever go under, your money is gone. Just a buyer beware.
Excellent. So the last couple of weeks, we've talked about how we've been getting through. Brian said today that he wanted to give us an NBA 2K update because there's no real sports. So let's talk to Brian about pretend sports.
Yeah. So for those that, last couple of weeks, I've been talking about my my all-star paint defender center in NBA 2K20. And he was on the Chicago Bulls. And last we talked, actually it was last week, we were finally made it to the NBA Finals against the Houston Rockets. Well,
did we win?
We won. Bulls in 6.
Bulls in 6. Okay, Bulls, so it was a good series. Good series.
It was a really good series. It was really tight because you figure the Rockets have James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Clint Capella. Clint Capella hasn't been traded in this part.
Mm-hmm.
And the first game, the Rockets creamed us. I think we lost by like 25. And then the second game.
Now, how badly did you get Kareemed? Did you get Kareemed Abdul-Jabbar?
I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar if I called him Lou Alcindor.
Oh, God.
That's how bad I got beat in the first game.
That's another level. That's for sure.
Second game, we beat them down as we beat them close. We won by like 5. Went back to Chicago and we won by like 20. The game 4, they destroyed us. So we're 2-2. And then I beat them in Houston. And then we came back to Chicago and they got shellacked by like 30.
Nice.
So what sucks though is that for my character, I said I wanted to re-sign with the Bulls because I couldn't think of any other team I would want to go and play for. And they were like, well, we can't afford a max contract, but we offered you this. So they gave my character for his next year 4 years, $112 million. And I'm like, all right, cool. Jeez. But in my VC, my virtual currency, I'm only making 1,000 VC a game. It's like, well, crap, I'm not making anything.
Yeah.
But now, so here's the thing. Now, my starting lineup for the finals, it was my center the character's name is Brian Turner. My power forward, I switched it from Lowry Markkanen to Wendell Carter Jr., who was originally the starting center. I just thought that he was a stronger inside presence. Then I had Otto Porter, Zach LaVine, and then Kobe White, who was the Bulls' top draft pick this past season. Well, now, because, in these games, when you go to the next season, since you're not the GM or the owner, you have no control on who they bring in.
Right.
So Fred VanVleet from the, I think he played for the Toronto Raptors. He's my starting point guard. And then they went and signed, what the hell's that kid's name? Kyle Kuzman? I think his name is. No, not Kyle Kuzma. It's the other guy that they traded. The Lakers traded to New Orleans along with how's that Lonzo Ball kid. I can't remember the dudes. Yeah, but the guy that they traded along with him to so it's like, so I got him and he got a max contract. So I'm kind of mad about that. I was thinking about seeking a trade because I'm not getting paid the most money.
Well,
because I'm a diva. And that's what's been going on. That's what's been going on.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to play pretend sports?
It really is.
I love it as well. I mean, I do. It's it's interesting how that stuff starts to occupy your brain when there's not real sports, you know.
It really does. It's fun. And really it's all, yeah, it's all we got for Brandon Ingram is his name. Sorry, Brandon Ingram.
This
But
week,
yeah, it
Brian,
is fun.
I have pivoted a little bit on the video game front, and I've gotten so into Fortnite.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously free to play, blah 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 blah, but I've actually gotten kind of good at it. And so I played it a long time ago when it first came out, and I was like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah, it looks real cartoony. It's very
yeah,
cartoony.
it is real cartoony, but it's a ton of fun.
All right, maybe I'll give it a try again.
It's pretty fun, man. It's pretty fun. It's like 100 one versus one, sort of 100 players, you know. Last man standing wins. Battle Royale
cool.
style.
So it's like PUBG. So it's basically PUBG.
Yeah, it's like that. It's just a
PUBG.
little more cartoony. Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't played PUBG. I haven't played PUBG in so long.
All right. Finally, Brian, before we go, it's time for a couple of
Plotaholics movie reviews. They're the movie reviews on the floor. And I'm dancing like I've never Yeah, you tried to get me a gig, you asshole. No, not happening.
All right. Brian, this week you watched this movie, Spencer Confidential.
Yeah, this is on Netflix currently. It premiered March 6th. I kind of ignored it at first. It was one of those where I wanted to watch it because I saw it had Mark Wahlberg and my homeboy, Winston Duke. Love Winston Duke. If that name sounds familiar, Winston Duke is M'Baku from Black Panther and in the MCU. And this movie is a lot of fun. Mark Wahlberg stars as Spencer, a disgraced Boston police officer who was arrested and then convicted of assaulting a police officer. And he spent 5 years in Walpole State Prison in Massachusetts. It's a real place. And he gets out and he's warned by those inside to leave Massachusetts. His goal is to get a job as a truck driver and go live in Arizona. Unfortunately, events unfold that include the death of the police captain that he had assaulted. And he ends up taking a personal stake in the case. Winston Duke plays the role of Hawk. He's a young fighter that lives with Wahlberg's, I guess you would probably call him his mentor, Henry, played by, and I should have looked this up and I didn't. I know who the guy is. I believe it's Alan Arkin. Give me 2 seconds. I want to say it's Alan Arkin.
Alan Arkin is listed on the poster.
Yes, it is Alan. Alan Arkin plays Henry, who was Spencer's sort of mentor. And Winston Hawk lives with Henry and is a promising up-and-coming MMA fighter. Mark Wahlberg and Hawk actually start to build a friendship by, Spencer's training him. And it's a lot of fun. It's almost like your typical buddy cop film, only they're not cops. They're both ex-cons.
I love Mark Maron. And he's listed as being in there. What was he up to?
Mark Maron. Let me see here. Mark Maron is my homeboy from Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Yeah.
He plays Wayne Cosgrove. He is a investigative reporter that is an ally of Spencer's. And this film also stars Bokeem Woodbine, who was in the big hit with Mark Wahlberg back in the 1990s.
Gotcha.
Love
Mark Wahlberg.
As do I. I mean, he's a fun actor. This is a pretty good movie. It's real good for you to just lose yourself for a couple of hours. The plot is a lot better than you would think, for a made for Netflix film. I guess we'll start calling those now. It's relatively well done. The action feels relatively realistic. It's grounded in some reality. Interesting characters. You'll get some chuckles out of it. Mark Wahlberg you get what you get with Mark Wahlberg in this film. And Winston Duke is very, very charming in this film as well. And I'm definitely planning on watching this again, but it's not without its problems because it's a made for Netflix film, but production values are really, really well. Some of the issues with the script, you can sort of roll your eyes at, but you do that with a lot of films these days.
Right.
And honestly, I would give it, for an action film, I give it a solid 2-shot rating.
Nice.
You get what you come to it for. The only reason why it's not a perfect film, but like I said, it's fun.
Yeah, very good. This week, Brian, we watched over at the Wilson house, we watched Spies in Disguise.
Oh, Will Smith and Tom Holland. All right. So Agent J and Spider-Man teaming up. All right.
Yeah. And honestly, man, like, it is exactly what you want out of an animated spy movie. It's not anything super complicated or anything like that, but it's cool animation. Those two voice actors are clearly incredibly charismatic. So Spies in Disguise tells the story in this courtesy of IMDb. When the world's best spy is turned into a pigeon, he must rely on his nerdy tech officer to save the world. So Will Smith spends a big portion of this movie as a pigeon, and it's very funny.
I'm just making sure I understood you.
Yes.
The world's best spy becomes a pigeon.
Yes. Not the world's best spy is a pigeon. The world's best spy becomes a pigeon.
Why have I not watched this before?
It sounds amazing, right?
Yes,
especially with the voice talents of those two.
Why isn't this a live action film? I want to see a CGI pigeon Will Smith.
I would love a live action version of this movie
with Will Smith as the yes. Why do we not have this? Oh, COVID-19. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, and I'm wondering also if we're going to see an influx of animated content here soon, because that is the one thing that you can do without being in the same space.
Yeah, as long as you have a script and, these guys can afford to have, studios in their house.
Most of the time, these guys are never in the studio at the same time anyway when they're filming the animated stuff.
Right. So, I mean, we just might. I don't know. I mean, it really makes you wonder, in this COVID-19, landscape, what are we going to start having? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be easier for them to finish animated stuff and push it out. And I think that streaming services are probably going to pivot to more animated stuff for the next little bit.
It makes sense.
Just to keep content coming. Like, you might see some stuff to get pushed up a little bit. Some animated features get pushed up and some other things get pushed off. But yeah, man, Spies in Disguise was a lot of fun for a weekend of viewing. And you also have Rashida Jones in there. You have
I love Rashida
Reba
Jones.
McEntire plays the head of the spy agency.
Nice.
It's a very good, fun ride there. And Will Smith is a pigeon.
Yeah, why not? You know what?
So,
you know what I want to try to watch for next week's show?
What's that?
I want to try to at least get a little bit of Golden Girls, some more Golden Girls under my belt.
Yeah. I love Golden Girls.
So you know what? How about this? You pick. Matter of fact, I won't do go. You pick a TV show for me to watch at least 4 episodes of between now and next week, and I'll pick a show for you.
Okay.
All right. So for you, and this might be a little bit difficult, so I will give you a backup just in case. If you can't find Mama's Family, then go to Hulu and watch The Awesomes.
Okay. The Awesomes. That's an animated series, right?
Yes, it is. Mama Wilson in the house.
But yeah, so then I'll give you the first 4 episodes. You've never watched Community, right?
I have never watched Community.
Give me 4 episodes of Community. Can I tell you which ones?
Sure.
At least one of them has to be the season 1 finale, I think is when it is.
Okay, let me see here. Is Community, what's it on? Is it on Hulu?
It has been on Hulu, but Netflix is adding it tomorrow.
Oh, all right, cool. All right, yeah. So I'll go with Community.
Community, and you have to at least watch. Modern Warfare. It's the 23rd episode of the first season.
Okay. Oh snap, Dr. Ken.
Yep. Chevy Chase, Childish Gambino.
All right. I just added it to my stuff on Hulu. And you said the season finale of episode 1. Season 1.
It's not the season finale. It's the 23rd episode. It's called Modern Warfare. So watch the first 3 and then watch Modern Warfare.
Okay. All right.
And then I will watch The Awesomes if I can't find Mama's Family.
All right. Sounds good.
And we'll talk about it next week.
Absolutely. I think that'll be fun.
All right. Well, that's going to just about do it for us. Thanks, Mom, for showing up on time. And we will talk to you guys again next week.
Take care, guys. Thanks for joining. Oh, and follow us on all your social media platforms at Plotaholics, or go to our website, plotaholics.com. Like, share, subscribe, and pass us on to your friends.
We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of 2. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.